Wednesday night, U.S. Special Forces took out the top commander of ISIS as part of a daring raid in Syria. Since then, President Biden revealed the terrorist target, Abu Ibrahim al-Hashimi al-Qurayshi, blew himself up, along with his wife and 2 children, as those special operators closed in. The president also said the raid was originally supposed to be an airstrike, but commanders changed plans to run a more risky ground operation when they learned there were civilians in the building where he was hiding out in. While it appears there were civilian casualties, the Pentagon says those deaths were the result of al-Qurayshi's actions.
Right now, the strong indications are that to the degree there's a loss of innocent life, it's loss caused by Mr. Abdullah and his lieutenant.
Let's talk to someone who knows far more about this than I do. This morning, we're talking to a retired Special Forces captain and creator of the Discovery Channel's series One Man Army. Mykel Hawke is joining us to find out more about the planning and preparation that goes into operations like this. Mykel, thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
I want to talk a little bit about the planning of operations like this. Unfortunately, casualties is always something that's part of the equation. How does that factor into the planning of these types of special ops?
Well, I think it's really important to know that the American psyche always views ourselves as the good guys wearing the white hat. So we always consider the potential loss of innocent life, and we try to calculate and reduce or mitigate that risk as much as possible. And I think this operation is a classic example of that. We could have very easily have just fired a rocket, forget, they're done and dusted. We don't have any risk to American lives. But once they realized that, and this is key, that there were innocent people on the first floor who were unaware, that was a decision point which triggered them to take a different course of action and risk American lives to go in and try to be more precise just to save other lives. And I think this is important coming on the back end of that tragic accidental targeting where a lot of innocent lives were lost recently. So I think this is a powerful decision to say to the world, hey, we really value human life and we're willing to risk our own lives to go in there and get the proper bad guys and not cause any harm to innocent people if possible.
U.S. Special Forces assuming more risk in order to not risk the lives of civilians. And as we are speaking about this, special operations groups like Green Berets, the Navy SEALs, the Army Rangers, we hear about these groups, special ops. Frankly, my question is, what makes them so special? Can you explain that?
Well, and having been an old school guy, came in the early 80s and retired in 11, but I just spent recent time in Afghanistan doing combat search and rescue for State Department, keeping myself current on skills. What makes our guys different than other people is really just that will to push a little bit harder and farther. I always tell people we're no better than anyone else. We're just a little bit different tool for the task. But I think it's important to note here, amongst the special operations community, the Green Berets are primarily known for being very deep planners. But also in the current context, now that we're getting away from the direct action type war that we've been into for the last 20 years with Afghanistan, Iraq, et cetera, looking at sort of a near peer competition, how we're going to operate, trying to compete in the space against China and Russia, for example. I think it's very important that these days we don't really try to give credit too much to one special ops versus the other, and just saying U.S. Special Operations Forces were the people who took down this bad guy. He deserved it. They did it well. And we give credit to all the American SOF or Special Operations Force for this mission.
These are the elites, the top, the best of the best, the highly trained forces there. And as we saw with this raid, a lot of times there kind of has to be audibles called. Let's talk a little bit about soldiers. In this raid, they had to blow up some of their equipment, actually one of their choppers, because of mechanical issues. As we see, anything can go wrong in these types of operations. We hear improvise, adapt, overcome. Explain how that works in these kinds of situations. How do you call an audible? How do you handle that kind of operational stress?
Well, I think it's important to know when they say the public information being put out is they spent months planning on this, that meant they had some general intelligence that gave them an idea where this guy was. They might not have had pinpoint precision info. And so the fact that they've been rehearsing this for a long time usually implies that's Green Berets being known as deep planners. And they just needed the key information of when was the right time or when was the right place to strike. So when you do that, Now let's back this up just a little bit. Recently, they tried to take a prison in Syria and release a lot of hostages. And of course, our guys did really well. We spanked them. We pushed that back. And that coming on the heels or right before this makes me think they might have got some information of where he was, or it was time to strike because he's obviously escalating his operation. So it's time to take him out. That said, when we plan every single thing that could possibly go wrong. 5-point contingency plan, primary, alternate contingency, emergency, and then a go to heck plan. And so that go to heck plan would go into effect at every single step. What's the point of no return when you got to continue the mission or when you got to go back? I've been on operations where, we had a helicopter shot down. We spent 2 days in a firefight trying to recover all the stuff off of it. We couldn't, so we had to blow it up in place. So they planned for that. That's just a mission possibility. Anything that is within the realm of possible that could happen and go wrong, we planned for it. So when this happened, they had a plan for, okay, let's get out of the way. Let's try to get what we can off of it, classified and crypto, and then let's blow it up so no bad guys can, exploit the information off of it. And that's just a normal part of deep planning for these type of operations. So unfortunate as it was, bottom line is we didn't lose anybody and bad guys didn't get a bird.
I'm quoting the A-team here. I love it when a plan comes together. Retired Captain Mykel Hawke, now with the Discovery Channel's One Man Army. Mike, thanks for being with us this morning. And thank you for your service and now for your educational efforts, letting the public know a little bit more about how military operations work. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.